Commander Ian Malik stood on the observation deck, heart pounding. Through the glass, he saw her for the first time tall, lithe skin rippling in muted blues and greens. The alien ambassador had arrived on the bridge of the Ardent Spirit, and Ian could not look away. His eyes were fixed on the intricate patterns across her midsection patterns that pulsed softly like the tide. Behind him, the rest of the crew was polite but distant. Only Ian felt the raw thrill of discovery. Organs lay beneath those markings? How did they breathe, move, feel? He felt both awe and a strange flutter in his chest. The alien spoke then, her voice like wind across crystal. "Human," she said. "You were staring." Ian blinked and looked up, cheeks hot. Before he could reply, she leaned forward, head tilted. "Are you thinking about what's down there?" Her question was neither rude nor she just curious. Ian cleared his throat. I'm wondering how you work." His words felt clumsy. The other stiffened. But she only smiled, a slow arch of luminescent lines along her cheeks. In that moment, Ian understood. She was not a monster to be feared, but a fellow being worthy of respect. He straightened his shoulders. "I want to understand you." Her smile deepened. "Then let us begin." Part 2. Shared curiosity. Over the next hours, Ian and Ambassador Zelia met in the ship's library. She showed him holograms of her world, full of shifting sands and violet skies. In return, Ian offered images of Earth's oceans and forests. They talked about breathing, how her species filtered heavy metals with tiny gills set around their waists. Ian's eyes lit up as he watched her demonstration on a holotable, a cross-section of her anatomy, delicate vessels fluttering like fins. He asked question after question, his earlier embarrassment forgotten. Zelia's curiosity matched his. She wanted to know why humans laughed when they tickled, how they dreamed, what love felt like. Ian paused at that last question. He searched for the right words. "Love is warmth you feel when you want someone safe," he said softly. Or shimmering patterns slowed their pulse. "Show me." Part 3. The first spark that evening, the bridge was quiet. Ian invited Zelia to walk under the starlit dome. She hesitated, then joined him. As they traced constellations, he pointed out Earth's brightest stars. She listened, body angled toward him. When Ian mentioned home, his daughter's laughter, the smell of rain on hot pavement, his voice caught. Zelia reached out, gently placing a long, slender finger on his wrist. Ian felt a tingle spread from his skin to his heart. He realized that for the first time he was not just curious, he cared. But as Zelia's gaze drifted downward again, the memory of her question returned. "Are you thinking about what's down there?" Ian forced a laugh. "Only that I want to know all of you, heart, mind, body." She studied him, and something soft glowed in her eyes. Part 4. Rising tension. Not everyone approved. The ambassador spread among the crew. The ambassador was a threat, an experiment, even a temptress. Some officers whispered behind Ian's back. The admiral warned him to maintain professional distance. Ian felt torn. He respected his superiors, but could not ignore the bond growing between him and Zelia. When the admiral confronted him, Ian quoted protocol, respect, and open diplomacy. The admiral warned of war if relations soured. Back on the observation deck, Zelia waited. Her patterns were dull, like a wounded sea. Ian approached. "They don't understand us." She crossed luminous arms. "Humans fear what they do not know." Her voice trembled with hurt. For the first time, Ian saw fear in her eyes. Part 5. The confrontation. A crisis erupted when a human scout ship opened fire on a patrol from Zelia's homeworld. Tensions exploded. Zelia's guards stormed the Ardent Spirit, demanding justice. Ian stood on the bridge, flanked by officers pressing blasters. She appeared in the doorway, calm but fierce. "Commander Malik," she said, "this violence ends now." Ian stepped forward. "We can stop this." His voice echoed through the tense silence. He negotiated under fire, pleading for mercy on both sides. He offered himself as guarantor of peace. Sweat beaded on his brow, but he would not back down. Finally, with trembling hands, the alien captain lowered his weapon. Zelia's patterns brightened in relief. Murmurs spread. Humans could be brave, even compassionate. Part 6. Turning the tide with hostilities paused. Ian and Zelia broadcast. A joint message of peace. Ian described humanity's hopes, friendship, learning, unity. Zelia translated with melodic precision. Crews on both sides watched, moved by their sincerity. As days passed, patrols withdrew, embassies formed, and trust grew. Ian and Zelia continued their lessons. He taught her human music. She taught him her silent meditation. Each moment bound them closer. One night, under twin moons, Zelia touched Ian's face. "Human," she whispered. "You look happy." Ian smiled, holding her hand. "Because I understand you." Part 7. A new beginning. Months later, the ardent spirit hosted a joint celebration. Humans and Zelians danced beneath banners of Earth's blue and her home's violet. Ian and Zelia stood at the center, side by side. She whispered, "Are you still thinking about what's down there?" Ian laughed, his eyes warm. "Thinking about everything we share." Zelia's patterns glowed brighter than any star. She leaned in. "Then you know my heart." In that moment, the galaxy watched. A human and an alien, united by curiosity, compassion, and courage. Their bond proved that fear could be conquered, that across worlds hearts could speak the same language. And so, from one shy glance to a powerful alliance, humanity and the Zelians began a new chapter, one written not in war, but in wonder. Ian woke early the next morning, the soft hum of the ardent spirit his only company. He couldn't sleep, not after the strange spark he had felt with Ambassador Zelia, as he dressed in his crisp uniform. He tried to steady his racing thoughts. What did it mean to care so deeply for a being he barely knew? In the ship's library, rows of hollow projectors lined the walls. Zelia was there already, gently pacing before a console. Her skin glowed faintly in the low light, shifting from teal to gentle green. When Ian entered, she paused. "Came," she said in her clear wind chime voice. He offered a small, awkward smile. "I wanted to learn more." She nodded and beckoned him forward. "I have something to show you." On the holotable, she summoned a three-dimensional map of her home planet, Viriela. Jagged violet mountains rose beside swirling pink seas, delicate filaments of light-traced river paths. Eon's breath caught. Varela was beautiful. Unlike any world he had seen, Zelia pointed to a valley between two peaks. "Here lies the Shimmer Basin," she said. "The ground breathes. Breathes." Ian leaned closer. She tapped the map, and a cross-section appeared. Layers of porous rock pulsed gently, pushing warm air through translucent vents. Tiny organisms lived in those vents, filtering toxins and feeding on minerals. Zelia's species learned to mimic that design in their own bodies. "Our gill structures draw air like this," she explained, "so we can live in harsh climates." Ian studied the diagram. His eyes lingered on one cluster of filaments, each glowing like a living vein. "It's amazing." He felt genuine wonder, a childlike thrill at discovery. Zelia's patterns brightened. "Show me your world." She touched a holopanel. An Earth's image appeared, oceans yawning under cloud puffs, continents stitched together like a patchwork quilt. Ian's heart swelled as he guided her through coral reefs and rainforest canopies. "This is the Great Barrier Reef," said. "It is alive with millions of creatures." He animated schools of fish darting through waving corals. Zelia gasped. At the colors blues, pinks, oranges, so vivid they seemed unreal. "Your planet is full of life," she whispered. "It is," Ian replied softly. "And it can be fragile." He showed her images of polluted rivers, forests stripped bare. Patterns dimmed at each stark image. Ian reached out, brushing his palm against the holoscreen. "We fight to protect what we love." Zelia rested a slender hand on his arm. Her touch was cooler than human skin, but warm in its intention. Ian felt a tremor of connection. They left the library together and walked toward the ships. Hydroponics Gardena, lush oasis of green. Vines curled around metal supports, and bright fruits dangled like lanterns. Zelia inhaled deeply, her eyes fluttering.
Nice!
What is this scent? Life, Ian said. He plucked a ripe berry and offered it. Zelia studied it, then bit gently. Sweet juice pooled at the corner of her mouth. She closed her eyes in delight. Delicious, she murmured, patterns glowing. Ian laughed, relieved. I'm glad you like it. He tasted one himself, savoring the simple sweetness. In that moment, their shared curiosity blossomed into something more trust. Later, they sat on a bench beneath artificial sunlight. Zelia turned to Ian, expression serious. Why do you humans risk everything for peace? She asked. Her question hung between them like a fragile crystal. Ian searched for words. Right. Because we know what it's like to lose everything. To suffer, to feel alone. He thought of his daughter's laughter, of the empty silence when she was away. He thought of Earth at war. We reach out in friendship because we believe it's worth the risk. She looked into Ian's eyes with tender curiosity. You carry both hope and pain. He nodded, yes. His voice cracked with emotion. That is why I wish to understand you. Her gaze softened, and she leaned in until their foreheads almost touched. And I wish to understand you, Ian Malik. He felt his breath catch. The world around them, metal walls, distant engine, unfaded. All that mattered was the honest warmth in Zelia's alien eyes. At that moment, Ian realized their bond was more than diplomatic duty or idle fascination. It was the silent promise that two very different souls could share dreams, fears, and perhaps one day, more than words. Above them, the hydroponic lights flickered on, casting gentle rays through the foliage. Ian and Zelia sat side by side, human and alien, learning that true kinship begins in the heart's quiet stirrings of wonder. And so, in the flourishing green of the ardent spirit, they began weaving the first threads of an extraordinary alliance, one stitched together by curiosity, trust, and the courage to care. Under the gentle glow of the observation deck stars, Ian Malik felt the air shift around him. Ambassador Zelia had agreed to meet him after her formal duties, and every moment he spent near her filled him with warmth and excitement he could barely contain. He smoothed the front of his uniform, though he knew it hardly mattered. Zelia would see through formality to the heart beneath. Zelia stood at the viewport, gazing out at the distant nebula that painted the void in violet and gold. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed softly, a sign of calm, yet Ian sensed something more, a quiet anticipation. He approached slowly, his boots echoing on the metal floor. It's beautiful tonight, he said, gesturing to the swirling colors beyond the glass. She turned, her eyes reflecting the nebula's light. On Varela, we call that cloud the Dreaming Veil, Zelia said. Legends say it is where our ancestors watched the living. Her voice carried reverence and wonder. Ian felt his chest tighten. The way she spoke of her home touched something deep within him. I wish I could see it from your world, he replied softly. But I hope this view brings you some comfort. He studied the gentle rise and fall of her shoulders. For a moment, he felt that he and Zelia stood alone in the universe, a human and an alien bound by mutual respect and genuine affection. Zelia's patterns shimmered brighter, and she lifted a slender hand. Thank you, Ian Malik. Her words felt intimate, as if she had spoken his name for the first time outside official halls. She stepped closer, and Ian caught the faint scent of her, a mix of ozone and wildflowers. Unlike any fragrance he had known, their proximity made his heart pound. He felt a swirl of emotions, excitement, fear, hope. He wanted to speak, but his voice faltered. Zelia's gaze drifted downward, toward the lower part of his field of vision, her bioluminescent waist vents, where Ian had first felt that flutter of curiosity. She tilted her head, a playful glint in her eyes. Are you still thinking about what's down there? She asked, her tone teasing but gentle. Ian's face flushed, and he cleared his throat. He raised his eyes and met her gaze. I think about all of you, he said, finding courage in the steadiness of her stare. Your mind, your heart, your spirit. He reached out tentatively, brushing his fingertips against the shimmering patterns on her arm. Contact sent a warm pulse through his skin. Zelia gasped softly, her patterns brightening with surprise and pleasure. Ian drew in a deep breath. Zelia, his words caught in his throat. He had never spoken like this to anyone. His training, his duty, all demanded professionalism. Yet his heart demanded honesty. I feel connected to you, more than duty, more than curiosity. Delia watched him with wide, luminous eyes. Then she closed the small distance between them, placing both hands on his chest plate. Ian Malik, she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. I have never felt such connection. In my life, I have studied many species, learned many languages, yet your heart speaks to mine in ways I cannot explain. Ian felt tears prick his eyes. He remembered his daughter's laughter, the empty silence of his quarters before Zelia arrived. Now, with her hands on his uniform, he felt alive. I don't want this to end, he said. Her patterns pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm like a lullaby. Then let us be brave together, Zelia replied. She leaned forward, and Ian closed his eyes, sensing the soft press of her lips against his. The kiss was gentle, curious, and full of promise, the mingling of two worlds, two souls reaching across the great divide. When they parted, Ian opened his eyes to find Zelia's face inches from his own. Her patterns glowed brighter than ever, radiating hope. He lifted his hand to her jawline, marveling at the warmth beneath her cool skin. They stood there for long moments, neither wanting to break the fragile magic. Finally, Zelia straightened, though she still held his hand. Tomorrow, she said quietly, I will show you the Song of the Sands. It is a ritual dance beneath our twin moons. Will you come? Ian smiled, feeling joy surge through him. I would be honored. As they left the observation deck side by side, the nebula above seemed to shine just for them. The galaxy, so vast and full of unknown wonders, felt suddenly intimate and kind. Ian knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, sparked between him and Zelia would guide them, in the hush of the starry night. Two hearts beat in unison, human and alien, forging the first true bond of friendship and love between their species. And with that spark came a promise that compassion and understanding could light the way, even across the endless gulf of space. The next evening, Ian led Zelia out onto the ship's aft deck, where a portable holodome projected twin moons rising over Varella's desert plains. Tall pillars of golden sand shimmered beneath their glow. Zelia smiled, patterns gleaming with excitement. This is the Song of the Sands, she said. Watch. She stepped into the center of the dome. Soft music, wind-like and haunting, filled the air. Zelia began to dance. Her movements were fluid, each step sending ripples of light across her skin. Ian watched, mesmerized, saw joy and sorrow in her dance. The joy of home, the sorrow of leaving it. His heart ached with empathy. Behind him, Admiral Corrigan's voice crackled over the comm. Commander Malik, you're needed on the bridge. Urgent situation. Ian hesitated, torn between protocol and this moment of wonder. He reached for Zelia's hand. Wait, he whispered. Just a moment more. Zelia nodded, finishing her dance with a graceful bow. Ian clapped softly, his eyes bright. You are beautiful, he said, voice thick with admiration. She blushed, her patterns pulsing warmly, and he felt a surge of pride in their bond. Together, they hurried inside. On the bridge, alarms blinked, and red lights swept across the panels. A distress call from a human mining ship had come through. Pirates were attacking. The crew sprang into action. Ian's face hardened. Divert shields. Prepare to assist, he ordered. Zelia stood beside him, calm but alert. As the ardent spirit raced toward the conflict, whispers spread through the bridge. Some officers gave Zelia wary glances, their earlier doubts returning. One tactical officer muttered, An alien here? What if she sabotages us? Ian caught the remark. His chest tightened. He knew fear could poison hope. He cleared his throat. Zelia has guided me to peace, he said firmly. She stands with us now. His words carried the weight of his respect and trust. Patterns shimmered at his defense, and she offered him a small, grateful smile. In that moment, the bridge felt united. Moments later, as the pirate vessels came into view, Ian and Zelia worked side by side. She translated their shield frequencies into energy pulses that reinforced the ardent spirit's hull. Ian piloted with steady hands. Under their combined effort, they broke through the pirate blockade, allowing the miners to escape. When the battle ended, silence fell. The miner ship hailed them in relief, and the pirates fled into the void. Ian exhaled, sweat beading on his brow. Zelia touched his arm. "You've saved them," she said softly. Ian shook his head. "We saved them together." The bridge crew erupted in cheers, and Ian glanced at Zelia. Her patterns glowed bright and steady, a living sunrise. He felt hope bloom in his chest. Even as fear and doubt had threatened to divide them, their unity had triumphed. That night, Ian found Zelia in the empty lounge. She gazed out at the stars, her posture thoughtful. Ian sat beside her. "Today was hard," he said quietly. She nodded. "Yes, some still fear the unknown." Her voice caught. "But others see what we can build." Ian took her hand. "I see it," he said. "A future where we stand together, not apart." Zelia's patterns slowed, pulsing in a gentle rhythm of trust. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Ian felt a fierce warmth love perhaps grow within him. In the hush of the lounge, two hearts, one human, one alien beat in shared rhythm. The galaxy beyond was still dangerous, full of fear and conflict. But Ian and Zelia knew that wherever they went, they carried something stronger: courage, compassion, and the unbreakable promise of unity. And so, distant stars, they pledged to face whatever came next together. The morning after the rescue, Commander Ian Malik awoke to a summons from Admiral Corrigan. He found Zelia waiting outside the Admiral's quarters, her patterns dim and tense. "Ian," she said softly, "they call for you." He took her hand, squeezing gently. "I'll be back soon." Inside, Admiral Corrigan paced. His voice was cold. "Commander, we have intelligence. Varella's military council demands you return Ambassador Zelia or face sanctions. They claim she betrayed her people by aiding us." Ian squared his shoulders. "She saved lives just as we did." The Admiral's gaze hardened. "Our alliance depends on discipline. You must choose. Your duty or personal feelings. No." Ian felt a storm in his chest. Duty and heart warred within him. He left without reply, resolve stiffening like steel. When Ian rejoined Zelia in the corridor, her shoulders slumped. "They question your honor," she whispered. Her voice trembled, patterns flickering like distant lightning. "Shh." Ian closed the gap between them. "I will defend you," he vowed. "Together, we stand or fall." Zelia's eyes glistened. "Your loyalty, it moves me." She brushed a cool hand across his cheek. Ian pressed his forehead to hers. In that breath, they shared unspoken promises of solidarity. Later, the Ardent Spirit received a distress beacon from a wounded Virellan patrol vessel drifting near an asteroid belt. Ian saw it as a chance to prove their bond. He ordered the ship to change course. Some officers frowned, whispering that rescuing their own was risky. As they approached the battered craft, Ian and Zelia led the medical team. Inside, injured Virellan soldiers lay amid torn bulkheads. Zelia knelt beside a wounded guard, her bioluminescent veins pulsing in empathy. She pressed healing nanogel to his chest and sang a soft Virellan lullaby. The guard's breathing steadied. Round them, human medics watched in awe. One whispered, "She saved that soldier's life." Another shook his head. "Maybe she isn't our enemy after all." Crew's whispers shifted from doubt to curiosity. After the rescue, Ian and Zelia stood on the aft deck, gazing at the stars. Zelia's patterns glowed steady and bright. "You risked your career for me," she said, voice thick with emotion. Ian wrapped an arm around her thin waist. "Because I believe in us." Zelia leaned into him. "Your people will see who I truly am." She turned to face him, eyes shining. "You have shown me what humanity's heart can be." Ian lifted her hand to his lips, kissing the cool skin where her patterns pulsed. In that gentle moment, politics and order seemed distant. Two souls, human and alien, connected by compassion. Yet Ian knew the coming days would test their unity again. He vowed silently. No matter the cost, he would protect Zelia and the fragile peace they had forged. Above them, the twin moons of Varela shimmered on the holodome. Ian drew Zelia close and whispered, "We will face any storm." She smiled, her patterns bright as dawn. Together, they stood ready for whatever challenge the galaxy would send next. The day dawned cool and silent aboard the Ardent Spirit. Commander Ian Malik found Ambassador Zelia in the hydroponics garden, tending to fragile seedlings. Her delicate fingers brushed a soft leaf, and her patterns glowed in gentle waves. Ian approached quietly, admiring how she found peace among Earth's plants. He held out a steaming cup of tea. Zelia accepted it with a grateful nod, the warmth of the cup mirroring the warmth between them. As they walked through rows of green, Ian shared news from the command center. "The Virulent Council will debate our alliance today," he said. Zelia paused, hands folding over the cup. Her patterns dimmed slightly. "They will judge me," she whispered. Despite their trust, fear flickered in her wide eyes. Ian stopped and took her hand. "They will see your honor," he said, voice firm. "I will stand with you, always." In the council chamber, a grand hall room on Varel, the debate began. Projected before them hovered images of Ian and Zelia working side by side, saving miners, healing soldiers, and forging peace. Yet some counselors spoke harshly. "She betrayed our code," one growled. "She chose humans over her own people." Others spoke softly of hope. "She showed courage and compassion," said a counselor whose skin patterns reminded Ian of soft moonlight. Zelia stood calmly before the council's central dais. Ian watched from the visitors' gallery, heart pounding. Leader demanded her truth. She drew a steady breath. "I acted not for a single species," she declared, "but for life itself, human and virulent. Compassion is not betrayal, it is the greatest strength we share." Her voice was clear, unwavering. Ian felt pride bloom in his chest. Silence fell across the chamber. Then, one by one, counselors shifted their gaze to Ian. He rose, stepping into the chamber. His uniform was immaculate, but his heart raced as he addressed them. "I do not ask you to trust me blindly," he said. "Trust Zelia's actions. Together, we saved lives, your soldiers, our crew. That is the measure of loyalty." His words echoed in the vaulted hall. A tense moment held the room. Then, with a slow nod, the council leader tapped his gavel. "We accept this alliance," he pronounced. Cheers rippled through the gallery. Zelia's patterns flared with radiant light. Ian felt tears sting his eyes as he hurried to her side. She embraced him with a gentle grace, her slender arms wrapped. Around him, their worlds had joined at last. Later, under the holodome in celebration, humans and virulents danced together. Laughter and song blended like a new harmony. Ian spun Zelia in a joyful circle, her patterns swirling in luminous colors. She laughed a sound like tinkling chimes, and he felt it resonate deep in his soul. Each step they took symbolized the unity they had fought so hard to achieve. As the celebration wound down, Ian and Zelia slipped away to the observation deck. The stars above seemed to applaud their victory. Zelia rested her head on Ian's shoulder. "Today my people saw your heart," she murmured. Ian kissed the top of her head. "And tomorrow, the galaxy will see ours." In that quiet moment, human and alien hearts beat as one. They had faced fear, politics, and doubt, and still, they had risen together. The path ahead remained uncertain, but Ian and Zelia knew they could meet any challenge. For in the bond they shared, they carried the promise of a future where two worlds stood united by compassion, trust, and love. Dawn's first light filtered through the viewport of the Ardent Spirit, painting the deck in soft gold. Commander Ian Malik stood beside Ambassador Zelia, both gazing at the rising sun of Varela. After weeks of challenge and change, the world felt reborn. Ian rested a hand on Zelia's slender shoulder. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed with calm joy. "It is beautiful," Zelia murmured, voice light as the morning breeze. She took a small holotablet from her sash and touched its surface. Of humans and Varellans working side by side appeared, building shelters on remote moons, sharing laughter in crowded marketplaces, studying each other's art and music. Each frame told a story of unity. Ian smiled, pride warming his chest. "We did that," he said softly. "Together." Zelia turned to him, her eyes full of gentle light. "You showed me your world, Ian Malik. In return, I showed you mine." "Nay," she paused, then added, "and now our worlds are linked." He nodded, recalling every step of their journey. Their first curious conversation about anatomy. The spark beneath the stars, the trials of battle, the test of loyalty before the council. Each moment had led them here. Soft chime echoed through. The deck engineer Ramos invited them to the bridge. "The first joint delegation is assembling," she announced with a bright grin. "Humans and Virulans will chart our shared future." Ian and Zelia exchanged a look of eager anticipation. They followed Ramos through the corridor, the deck alive with activity. Crew members of both species greeted them with respectful nods and warm smiles. The air thrummed with hopeful energy. On the bridge, a long table stretched beneath a panoramic window. Representatives from Earth and Varela filled seats on either side. Flags of blue and violet stood together, emblematic of two peoples forging a new bond. At the center sat Admiral Corrigan and Virulan Council leader Cyrilia, both offering courteous bows. Ian and Zelia stepped forward. Ian cleared his throat. "Esteemed friends," he began, voice steady, "we stand at the threshold of a new era. An era born of compassion, courage, and respect." He gestured toward Zelia. "With Ambassador Zelia's guidance, we have learned each other's strengths. We have saved lives and healed wounds, both physical and of the heart. Today, we commit to walk this path as partners, not strangers." Zelia stood gracefully. "On Varela, we believe every being has a song to share. Today, I offer you our song of unity." She raised her hand and a gentle tone filled the room, alien melody woven from virulent instruments and human harmonics. The music rose and fell like a tide, carrying notes of hope. As the final chord faded, applause rippled through the chamber. Tears glimmered in many eyes, human and alien alike. Ian glanced at Zelia. Her patterns glowed brighter than the holotablets. Light, he knew this moment would be remembered across galaxies. Later, as celebrations moved to the hydroponics garden, Ian found a quiet corner with Zelia. Green vines curled overhead, and fruit hung like lanterns. She leaned close, voice soft. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" Ian wrapped an arm around her. "I know there will be challenges," he said. "Not every world will understand. But we have shown what is possible when two hearts choose to trust and to care." He kissed her temple. "I believe in us." Zelia smiled, patterns pulsing in gentle waves that felt like a promise. "Then we will journey forward," she said. Hand in hand, above them, the dome shifted to show Earth's blue swirl and Varela's lavender sands side by side. In that shared vision, their two worlds orbited a single point of light, a symbol of the bond they had forged. Ian squeezed Zelia's hand. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. She nodded, head resting against his shoulder. "Beginning born of compassion," she added. "The strongest force in the universe." And as the ardent spirit sailed, onward charting new space lanes, carrying messages of peace, and uniting peoples once divided by fear to souls, remained at its helm. Human and alien, proof that understanding can bridge any star, and that love, above all, lights the way. To a brighter dawn,